Hello and welcome to my channel. I am Julie with Paisleys Polka Dots, and I'm back with another video tutorial on how I made this patina frame that you see here. This one has a cross-stitch piece in it that's by Hands-On Design, and I loved it. I fell in love with it when I saw it and thought, oh, a porthole frame would just be perfect for this. And I wanted it to look all distressed and old and aged, so I gave it this patina effect. And I think it came out really, really well. I love how it turned out, and it's super easy to do. So I wanted to share that with you today. You can also use it for a photo frame for the crafters. You can put scrapbook papers together, stamps, and use it as a frame for that. So lots of uses for this cute little frame. And I'm going to jump right in and get started. The first thing I'm going to do is, because I want everything to look like it's been like stuck together and like the bolts are all rusted and corroded and it's kind of old. So I am going to glue all of the little pieces together first. And the way I do that, I typically use two different types of glue, either Aleene's tacky glue or the Titebond Quick and Thick. The Titebond Quick and Thick sets up pretty quickly, but for certain little pieces, I do like the Aleene's tacky glue. So I am going to go ahead and I'm gonna glue these little pieces onto the little circles that you see here, kind of giving you a guide to where to place those. So just put a little dab of glue in each one and glue these on. Super quick, super easy. Okay, and just glue them on, covering these laser etched lines there for you. Now I did line up kind of all of them facing the same direction toward the center. I've got that flat part going toward the center. I don't really think that matters too much, but it's all to your preference if you want them lined up or you want them random. Either way works. I'm going to go all the way around the circle here. And then I am going to let this dry, and I'll come back and I'm going to base coat it a solid color to start with. All right. I guess I have an extra one there. And then this is the frame that's going to go around this middle section here. So I'm going to go ahead and put some glue on the back side of this. Now some people have asked me, how do you tell the front from the back with the laser cut wood? Usually you can see some of the burn on the back side, like this heavy burn that you see right here. That's always on the back side. And also the front will leave a little bit of a darkened edge around the outside, and so that's how you can also tell. All right, and once you get this glued on, line it up. I'm going to get off any glue which doesn't really matter for this piece if it's got a little glue seeping out, because we're just kind of going for that grungy old look. But I'm just going to make sure it's all lined up here. Okay, so I'm going to set this aside and let it dry, and when it's dry, oh, I guess I can glue these together. Well, no, I'm going to paint them first and then I'll glue them together. This is the easel for the back of your stand, and I'll paint that as well. Oh, I do want to glue this on. The little etched lines right here are for that. So I'll go ahead and glue this as well. All right, it's all glued, and now we're going to let it dry. All right, my piece is now dry, and I'm going to go on to the next step, and I'm going to base coat all of my pieces with this dark brown color by Americana called Asphaltum. Not sure how to pronounce that name, but I actually bought this as a pack, a patina pack from Décor Americana online, and it came as a 4-pack for this particular patina style, and it had some instructions on the back side, and I kind of followed them as a sample, and I wasn't real happy with how it turned out, so I'm kind of did my own thing, and that's what I'm going to show you. So this, but I do believe that these paints come individually. This is a metallic paint, rose gold. There's a Deco Art Texture Sand medium, and I looked it up, and it doesn't come in a bottle like this. It comes in more of a little container, something like what this one is. So they do have it individually if you tend to have these colors on hand. This is Bahama Blue, and then the Asphaltum, which if you have raw umber, which I use a lot, that's this one here. It's almost the same color. So you could use raw umber as well. And instead of the Bahama Blue, you can use Green Lagoon, that same type of, you know, the patina color. But the one color I did add in was this Seafoam by Delta. Kind of because I wanted a little bit of a lighter color to match my background fabric that you see in this piece. So, you know, you can change up your colors depending upon what you're working with. You can use this technique or style with other colors as well, just to give it that distressed, caked on effect. So I'm just going to shake my paint up a little bit here and pour some out on my paper plate. And I'm just going to give these pieces one quick coat. You don't have to be specific or too particular. I'm just going to slap the paint on. If you need to use a smaller brush to get around into these little nooks and crannies here, you can do that as well. You don't have to go around the edges, but because it's about the same color, you're going to put a lot of different coats of paint over the top of this. So going over the outside edge isn't too important. Now I did leave this inside edge here. I left it the dark brown because I liked the contrast next to my stitched piece. So I didn't age the inside edge of my piece, just the outside edge. As you can see, I'm just slapping some paint on here. I'm not making it look too pretty. Now I'm going to go on to my other pieces that you see right here. I now have all my pieces base coated, and we're going to go on to the next step. So this is where I'm going to use this texture sand medium, and I'm going to be using a stenciling brush. This is just a regular stenciling brush. I bought it in a pack with a few different sizes. It came with a few different sizes, like this little one here. And this is what I'm going to be using. So I'm going to use this, and you can also use a palette knife like this. I'll show you a few different little ways you can. We're going to put out a little bit of this texture sand onto my plate here, and I'm going to take this stippling brush and I'm just going to start dabbing this on in places, like along the edge of the opening here and along the bolts where I want it to look like they're thick and kind of rusted on so they don't come off. Just wherever you think. You can make it heavier in areas and not as heavy in other areas. You can even use your palette knife. You can use a palette knife like this and just kind of scrape it on in places. That also works. Now you don't want to cover the whole surface because, you know, you don't want the whole thing to look completely aged. Or maybe you do. I can always say it's your preference, it's your piece. You do you, use your own creativity. But this also kind of helps to get into some of those tight spaces. But the stippling brush works well too. I really like it around the bolts because then it looks like the bolts are just really stuck on and they're not going to come off. Be sure to get the little porthole opening or hardware there too. Might need just a little bit more. Okay. Maybe I'll put some on with this. There we go. I think I like it like that. Maybe I'll put a little bit right in here. Okay. Yeah, I think I like that. We want this to fully dry before we go on to the next step, so I'm gonna let this dry for a little bit. While that piece is drying, I am going to go ahead and I did not patina the back side of my frame. Now you can, it's up to you, completely up to you, but I was lazy, didn't want to spend the time to do it. So what I'm going to do is I am going to take a piece of fine grit sandpaper, 150 grit, and I'm going to just give these a little sand to distress them a little bit. There we go. Oh, and I have this piece right here. Now I do want to sand going in one direction. You don't want to sand this way and then sand this way. You want to continuously sand going in the same direction. All right. Now you're probably wondering what this hole is for. I put the hole there just in case maybe someday at some point you want to remove whatever you have in the center here. Say you have a cross stitch piece in there, you want to remove it at some point. You can flip this over and put your finger in there and push it through the front side and it'll come out. So that's what that hole is there for, kind of for convenience purposes. And then this piece, this is the piece that you are going to attach your, if you have a cross stitch piece, you're going to attach a cross stitch piece to this, and then it goes into the center. So this doesn't need to get painted or anything. This is going to be your backer board. Okay, so we're going to set that aside for when we get all done and need that. Right now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to use my tight bond, and I'm going to put this easel, this is the easel back that you see here, and so I'm going to put this together. Might as well keep working, right? While that's drying. Okay, so I'm going to put some glue in these little corners here. This will also need to set up and dry before you can attach it to the back side anyway, so it'll be good to have this all finished and done, ready to go when we put together the rest of the frame. So these fit right into the little slots there. Okay, and if you get any glue squeezing out, that's okay. This glue dries clear, or you can wipe a little bit of it off. And then before you stick the other side in, you're going to want to stick this in, put this on the other side, and then slide it into the hole, the second hole. Okay, just like that. And that's going to be the easel that we're going to attach to the back of this. All right, and I can go ahead and attach it, but I think I'll wait till I get my cross stitch in there, and then we'll attach it to the back, depending upon how you want to move this up and down the back side, depending upon what angle you want it to sit at, because the lower you make it, the more to the front it will go. So the higher you put it on the backer board, the more of an angle your piece will be. Okay, so that's that. I'm going to set that aside to let it dry. And my top piece is now dry, and I am now going to go in and I am going to start adding all of the different colors in. So in order to do that, I am going to put out on my palette here, I'm going to put out all the colors that I'm going to use, because I'm going to use them all at one time. I'm using the stippling brush again. Now I washed it out from having the sand texture in it, and you want this brush to be really dry when you use it. You don't want any moisture in it. So dry your brush out really, really good. The metallic paint you have to shake up really well. This is rose gold. I'm sure, like, any of the bronze or some of the other colors would work too. It gives it a little bit of sheen or shininess. We're not going to use the sand, but then I'm going to add in a little bit of the seafoam, because I like that color for the base fabric that I used in my piece. And then the Bahama blue. Okay, so I'm going to put all these colors out of my palette, and I'm going to start with the darkest brown first, and you just dip your brush in just a little bit and kind of pounce it off on your paper plate there, and you start working on your piece. Now I worked in little tiny sections, adding the color in. So you add in some of that, then I can go in with a little bit of the green here, the seafoam color, and you're just going to start adding in colors that you like on top of each other. Add in some of that, the little, and if you get too much, then just add in another color. If you don't like that color, just keep adding color until you feel that you have gotten kind of what, the look that you want. All right. And sometimes your little stippling brush or your little stenciling brush tends to fall apart a little bit. I just take the little bristles out. And if you find that your paint gets it's starting to muddy up, it's like got too much, you can also work some of that color out on a paper towel, so that you have a clean slate to work with. And you do kind of have to kind of work it into all the little nooks and crannies behind the bolts. And like I said, I try to work in one section and then move on, get it kind of how I like it, and then move on to another section. Now you can do it more, like right now I have it a little brown looking compared to what I have more green right here. All right, so it's all kind of in how you want it to look in your taste. I can add in some more turquoise in here. I want it to look more turquoise, and some lighter seafoam in some places to brighten it up a little bit. And then you're covering up, like if, as you can see, some of the sand, the areas with the sand in it, now it's all kind of like grunged up and kind of looks like it's paint peeling up or metal peeling up. It just gives a really cool effect, and I'm loving how it looks. Now, I will say, like in this area right here, I got the colors a little too muddled together. Let it dry, let that area dry, and then you can go back in and you can cover it with another color instead of continuing to muddy it up. And as you can see, now I'm going to go back in with a little bit more turquoise because I want to make it a little bit more I wanted to make it a little bit more green. It's looking a little on the grayer side to me right now, so I'm just going to add in some more turquoise back in lightly, and then some more of the light green. I'm probably pouncing with a little bit of a lighter hand this time around. Okay, this is that area that I had got a little muddy on me, so I'm going to go in and put some darker color in there. I want to tone down that turquoise a little bit, so I'm adding some of the lighter seafoam color. Probably no two that I ever make of these would ever come out the same, just because it's such a fun and different technique that, you know, every single piece you make is gonna come out just a bit different, which makes them all unique. But it's super fun. And quite easy. Just a lot of pouncing up and down with paint. Now, once I got it to this point, I wanted to give it a little bit more shading. As you can see, let's compare it to this one. See how this one has a little bit more darkness around the outside edge? So once I had it kind of the way I wanted it, which I think I've got it pretty good, I went back and then kind of wiped out some of the paint out of my brush. And then I went back with just the brown, pouncing it off on my plate again, or a paper towel, whatever you have, and going around the outside edge, kind of adding some depth to the piece. Now you are going to want to go around your the sides of your wood, because you don't want them to stay like this. So you're going to want to do that as well. And I am using probably a little bit of a lighter hand. Like I said, sometimes I pounce a little harder in some places than others. Along the edge, I'm kind of using a lighter hand. You don't want to use a lot of paint in your brush. You want to dab it off. It's kind of a dry brush effect that you're trying to accomplish. I hope that makes sense. Okay, I think I have gotten this to where I like it. I'm going to start pouncing on the sides now a little bit. And again, you do it the same exact way that you were doing the top part. Just start blending in color. Now the side isn't probably as important as the front, but you do kind of want to blend the colors in, make sure it looks good. I didn't use too much of the copper, not the copper, the rose gold. I didn't use too much of that, but I do like a little bit of the sparkle that it gives here and there. Now if you get some onto the front side and you need to fix it or go over it again, you can. I said you can keep going over this, but again, you don't, if it starts to muddy up, you need to let it dry, because it's just going to continue to get muddy looking. All the colors are just going to blend together if it's too wet. So let it dry and then go back and add more paint again to the different areas, just different colors again. And just keep blending on top of each other till you get it right, till you get what you want. That's the nice thing about this technique, is you can just keep blending and it doesn't matter what it looks like. You can just let it dry and continue to blend right on top of each other. All right, I think that looks good. Now the one last step that I want to do, and you might want to get in some of, on some of the sides right here that I wasn't, when you're down here, you really can't see it. So if you see any sides in these areas here that you want to get, kind of go over some of the little detail areas or in the nooks and crannies there. Like right here, I can still see some of my sand. I want to get some of that. There we go. Looking pretty good, isn't it? Now I did not do the inside here. You can, but I just kind of, I liked that to leave it dark. I liked it. It gave a nice contrast to the piece. Maybe I'll dry brush a little bit of color right along the top edge here to kind of blend it together. I said there's no right or wrong. You do you. Whatever you like, whatever your look is, whatever your taste is, that's what I say to do, because it's your piece. All right, now you do want to go around. This is your bottom piece, your background. So we also want to do the side of this piece of wood. You don't have to worry. This is gonna, that's where your cross stitch is gonna go on the back of that, or butt up to that. So you don't need to do that part, but we do want to go around the edge again, so that it's going to match our sides. So I'm going to go ahead and blend some of this color in. All right, I think I've got it pretty good there. Let me stick my pieces together. I'll check it out. Yeah, I think so. I think that looks good. Okay. So I'm going to let this dry a little bit, and then I'll show you how to put it together with the cross stitch piece inside of it. Okay, so for this next part, I want to show you what I do when I mount my cross stitch pieces to these wood boards that I have. So I like to always use a piece of the Warm and Natural, kind of what they use for the quilt batting, just to give it a little bit of you know, protection behind it, and it kind of pops it up a little bit. I like the look of it a little bit better. So I used a piece of the Warm and Natural, and I actually spray my my boards with an adhesive spray. I'll show you that in just a second. And then since I'm going to show you with this, I wanted to find a heavier thickness of fabric, just so that I made sure that it went into the frame, because you know it has to fit just perfectly, just like this one. I slipped it into the back side of the frame, so I wanted it to fit perfectly. So I am kind of using a heavier fabric, you know, just so you can see that it actually works. So but since I'm using black, I actually ironed on a piece of black interfacing, which I guess it doesn't matter for my demo, but when I use black Ada, I don't want the white to show through from my Warm and Woolly, so I'll iron a piece of interfacing to the top of that. So basically sprayed the board, put the Warm and Woolly on, then ironed the interfacing on, and now I'm just going to cut around it with my scissors, or you can use a one of the rotary cutters. I find cutting around the circle with this is just easier for me, so I use a pair of scissors. Got a little bit left there. Okay, so cut that, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay this over the top, and however you like to mount your cross stitch, you know, if you like to do the lacing technique, if you like to just fold it over, I just fold it over and use glue. Again, a lot of times I will spray the back side of this so that it makes it a little tacky, and then I wrap it around, and it makes it, kind of gives it a nice clean edge. So I'm going to spray that, and then I'll show you what it looks like. All right, I went ahead and sprayed my board, and it's tacky. This is what I used. I don't know if it's archival safe or anything like that, but it's easy and convenient for these decor pieces that I'm not gonna, you know, try to archive them for 100 years. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna put this down onto my cross stitch piece, and I'm gonna start working the fabric up around the top of the board here, kind of going along the edges. And like I said, if you enjoy doing the lacing technique, you can do that as well. I very rarely get to cross stitch on my own, so when I do, I want quick and easy finishes. So that's what I do. Quick and easy. All right, so now that I've got it all kind of pushed around the top of the board, okay, and then I look on the front, you can tell that it gives it, you know, you don't have all those little puckered edges. It gives a nice clean edge to your piece. Okay, and then I'll usually take a fabric glue or my Aleene's tacky, and then I don't like to particularly use a hot glue gun. I feel like the glue makes it too thick. I don't like my backside to be thick, so I'll just take a little bit of the Aleene's tacky and just kind of run it around the edges here. Because I feel like this glue, I feel like it works well enough to kind of hold it in place like a temporary fix, you know, like, but not for long term. I feel like it won't hold long term. So that's why I go around it with a fabric glue. I typically use a fabric glue. The Aleene's works, but I use fabric glue just because it's fabric. All right. I just like the way the spray adhesive really gets the edges to fold over on the piece. All right, so there we go. There's my circle. You're gonna put this through the back side right here. You're gonna push it through. And I didn't have any trouble at all fitting that into this hole. Okay, and then Nice. This hole, as I said in the beginning of the video, is so that if you, once you glue these together, at some point, if you want to remove that, then you can just take your finger on the back side and then push it out. Otherwise, you're going to have to try and dig it out from the front, and it's not going to work very well. So that's what that is there for. Now that you have your piece in, you can go ahead and, again, if you're going to want to be able to remove this, then you're not going to want to tack this to the background. Okay, so you're going to want to glue, take my lid off here. You're going to want to glue all the way, this piece all the way around the outside edge. And normally I wouldn't be using my Aleene's glue. I want my Tite Bond because I like that it sets up pretty quickly. If I can get it to go to the bottom. Don't just say when you use too much of your glue, and then you got to keep it upside down to be able to use it. Okay, think it's going now. Okay, so get some glue all the way around the outside edge, and kind of position your hole where you want it to be. I want mine to be at the bottom, so it would be easy to pop it out. I want this to be on the side. So again, whatever stitch you have in here, you're going to want to align it to the little knob over here. Once you have your stitch all lined up, you're going to pop those two pieces together. Give it a good press. Okay. And then you're going to want to let that set up. Like so. Okay, and then when you have that done, when it's all done and set up, then you're going to want to glue this to the back side of your frame. All right, and depending upon where you glue it, so let's say we glue it right there, you're going to want to kind of hold it where you kind of think you might want it. And as you can see from the top view of the camera here, the more I position it down, the further it stands upright. And up to the top, it's going to be more at an angle, where you want it to be at an angle so that it's not too front heavy and your piece is going to fall to the front. Basically about the area that I want the piece to be is about right here. So I can go ahead and glue this in place. My piece probably is not set up quite enough just yet, but we're going to go ahead and do it. I'll just make sure that my piece doesn't shift. So you can put some glue on there, put your piece on the back side and press it down. Okay. Maybe give it a few minutes to set up, and then check your piece to make sure that you have it where you want it while it's still a little bit wet, and that way you'll be able to adjust it if you need to. We are done. If you have any questions, you are welcome to email me at info@paisleysandpolkadots.com or put a comment in the box below and I will get back to you. And if you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe so you can see all of our other future videos that we put out, and hope you enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.